What are some dumb purchases you made? I traded a rather rare volume into a local used bookstore because I had 2 of them. Then went back to the bookstore a month later and excitedly bought my own book back because it was rare and I didn't think I owned it. I was wrong. A cactus that lights up. Spent over $100 or more buying clothes for my avatar on a virtual reality game when I could have spent it on, actual clothes. I bought a faceless doll to scare people. Turns out I was the most scared one. Getting home drunk and spending $15 on the Animal Crossing app. This has happened 3 times. I've bought a lot of how to kits books, like how to knit, how to calligraphy, how to paint, how to write poetry, etc. Have I learned how to do a single one of those things? No, I have not. This kills me every time I remember it, and it's honestly made me into the extreme money saver I am today. When I was younger, my family visited Niagara Falls. I had $50, which is a lot for a kid with no job, and was excited to buy some souvenirs. I spent it all on keychains. I only got like 6 of them, which made it to $50. They were all of the same place, too. It's not like they were from different cities. I wasted all the money I owned on freaking keychains. Who even uses those? It haunts me to this day. I commissioned an artist to paint a portrait of my then girlfriend's dying pet rat. She had told me her rat was about to die a month before I got it. By the time it was ready, the relationship had ended and I didn't know what to do with it. I paid $90 for it and it was absolutely worth the price. Artist did an amazing job, I just didn't have anyone to give it to now. I ended up giving it to her anyway. I regret doing that since I probably just made her feel guilty. Thing is, I was fully aware we were about to break up. I just liked her so much and I was totally alone in a new state. I didn't think I was good enough to earn her love, so I tried to buy it. Real dumb. I bought an umbrella on a rainy day once from a cheap corner store that seemed like it was a hidden drug operation or something, and it broke that very day. Why would you buy an umbrella? They're free in that little tin can at coffee shops. Those belong to people, George. A house in 2007. It's still not worth as much as we paid for it. Deciding to go to grad school in 2012 to 5 years after graduating for no other reason than I have no clue what to do with my life. An ex broke up with me. She was the first person I dated and didn't really know how to navigate the breakup, so I bought her a really thoughtful gift for her birthday a month later. What a waste of money and time looking back on it. There's a lot of things I'd regret more than a gift for someone else. She obviously mattered at some point. $400 fish tank lighting. I wasn't carpenter enough to build the hood to mount it. It sits in the basement as a monument of my idiocy. When I was 7, I saved up for a 1-foot high porcelain Dalmatian from a department store. My pocket money was £1 per week. The dog cost £27. My mother still has it at her house. It's the kind of thing a 70-year-old would buy. I have no idea what was going on in my head. When I was in 1st grade, we got school bucks for good behavior and we could buy things with them at the school store once a week. One of those things was a ceramic bunny, and when it was my turn to buy something, I raced over to get that bunny so no one else would get it first. No one else was going for that bunny. After I thought about it, I was like, WTF was I so worried about? Anyway, the reason I wanted it so much was to give it to my mom as a gift, and she kept it for ages. Bought a onesie for my Great Dane. Don't know why I bought it, but I think he liked it. $75 in plants only to let them die because I forgot about them. Those claw covers for cats to stop them from scratching up your furniture. They were ripped off the next day. He was gnawing at his little feet until everyone was gone. I'm usually pretty conservative with my spending, but I have bipolar disorder, and sometimes when I am manic I go a little nuts with dumb purchases. My 2 worst are probably a top-of-the-line spin bike which I had never tried before for about $1,000 and I resold for $300 once I was out of the episode, and I also convinced myself to join a hockey league. I spent $1,200 on skates, pads, gloves, stick and helmet. I have never skated and I still haven't. All the gear is in the back of my closet and I cringe whenever I stumble across it. Not me, but my mom. She surprised me with a pair of fancy basketball shoes for my birthday, even though I'd never expressed any interest in such a thing, and I was neither cool nor athletic. I brought them to scout camp a few weeks later and lost one of them in the mud. They were original, size 11 Air Jordans, in 1984 or 1985. My first pack of cigarettes. A shitty mall katana, while I was on a date, no less. It was a first date. There was not a second. This was close to 20 years ago. I was 19. I had just moved into a new apartment, and thought mounting a katana on the wall would look mature and cool. It never made it up on the wall in any place I ever lived. I eventually sold it at a garage sale, got $20 for it. The date wasn't going terribly up to that point, but it was also clear we weren't destined for a second date. I've never owned a fedora, and thought I grew out of my nice guy, neckbeard tendencies by 10th grade. Maybe it was a last gasp attempt for those traits to manifest themselves. I hope she remembers it, preferably with a laugh. I certainly remember it. I have 3 boys, and they will definitely hear about it as a cautionary tale. It was a first date. There was not a second. Such is the way of the blade. Accidentally bought stuff in Clash of Clans. Twice. I knew a guy in high school who worked at Burger King part-time just to exclusively fuel his Clash of Clans addiction. He legit spent his entire checks on that game. Wonder how he feels about it now. The Legend 27. I spent $60 on an electric blue ceramic pumpkin. I used to buy Starbucks and/or lunch for several co-workers multiple times a week. I was in an incredible amount of debt. My first time in Germany. I was only there for a few months, so I thought I don't need a barn card. I'm not here for a full year. Then I spent well over €1,000 on train tickets. The whole time I could have been saving 50% and collecting loyalty points. I bought an $80 pen one time. Asterisk looks nervously at all the games on Steam, GOG that I've bought but haven't played ever. Asterisk. The alcohol stove I've bought recently didn't work as well as I had anticipated. I went on a first date with the girl that I liked. We live in New Jersey and it was July, so obviously I took her to the boardwalk. While we were there I saw a vendor selling hermit crabs, and my dumbass thought it'd be funny to buy them as a joke and try to impress her. I then realized after spending $30 on 2 crabs too, because one would get lonely, that I needed a proper setup. So we went to PetSmart and got a tank, food, sand, and a log for them to play on. Long story short, I spent over $100 on hermit crabs and supplies. Not to mention that the girl completely friend-zoned me, which is okay because now I have my 2 crabs, pickles and jergies to keep me company. Well, now you have a story about getting crabs on a first date. $200 Gucci slides for my high school graduation. So many unnecessary things early on in college. It was the first time I had some kind of income from working a part-time job, so I thought it was absolutely necessary to buy all my textbooks instead of renting them or finding them online for free. I also spent a fuckton on dorm room stuff, which hardly anyone was going to see or care about since the dorms came furnished anyway. Lessons learned. I'd definitely pass on that advice to anyone going into college in the US. I bought books when I was in first semester, later realized that I could have read online, so sold them after the semester. Bought a motorcycle from somebody that didn't properly take care of it. There were a few small warning signs, but I just let the fact it was the specific model I was looking for, in my price range, with things I could easily fix, cloud my judgment. Basically anything he touched on the bike I have had to replace, or more accurately, pay a shop to replace. Because I don't have a garage or really the time, energy to do much of the work on it myself. It was a little bit cheap and came with a bunch of spare parts, but I really wish I'd held out longer and paid a bit more for one that had been better looked after, because it would have probably worked out to be cheaper and less hassle to boot. But I live in a pretty small market and was after a specific model, so it might have been 6 to 8 months. Altogether the expense hasn't ruined me. I bought it to sorta celebrate getting back into full-time salaried work. It has definitely made me enjoy the bike a lot less than I have previous ones. I will definitely vet the PO of my vehicles more thoroughly in the future. Have just been pretty lucky until now, I suppose. He did sorta try. Which is the problem. When I was high off pain meds after my ACL surgery, I was on Amazon and saw a typewriter that I really wanted. Order it, and it was a picture of a typewriter on a notebook. I'm still mad about that. Everything just seems like a great idea when you feel like you're floating. It was Percocet and Oxy. It was $12, so I didn't really care about returning it, and honestly, it's a funny reminder that I like to have around. My family still brings it up to tease me about it, but it is funny, so I can't blame them. I once spent $15 on a Postmates order for ice cream. Bought $50 worth of Beanie Babies because I thought they'd be worth something. Extra incubators for Pokemon Go back when I still played it. My phone died in the middle of Times Square. I was there on a school trip and was alone for about 4 hours. I ended up buying a charger from a gift shop that was marked up to $50. I ended up paying $30. And it was the shittiest charger I have ever used in my entire life. I can still remember looking at the screen when it booted up to say, 9 hours and 30 minutes until fully charged. I bought a rare exotic cucumber from a guy who said it would give me good luck. I had accidentally doubled my dose of pain meds right before I went to go see a showing of the film Drive. On my walk home I ordered a pair of what I thought was the gloves Ryan Gosling's character wears in the film. A week later I got them in the mail and realized they were 3 sizes too big and are entirely different color. $160 down the toilet. That night I took my Ambien and apparently decided to try again after staying on the computer after my sleep meds had kicked in. I bought the same pair of gloves. Had a crush on a guy the first barely knew who told someone else who told me that this guy was into dominant women. A few days later I dropped nearly $600 on bondage gear, an entire strap-on setup and what I imagined to be dominatrix outfits. Everything arrived in the mail by a couple weeks later. I tried on everything, looked all manner of ridiculous and suddenly realized I had never planned beyond that point. I couldn't come up with any non-mortifying way to try to let this guy know that I was prepared to dominate him. Like, I couldn't even decide if it would be less ridiculous to pretend I had always had all this stuff and been into such things, or to admit I bought everything on the off chance that a near stranger I was infatuated with might be down for it. In the end I gave it all away to an elderly gay couple on Craigslist. That was my $600 value charity donation for the year. Wasn't even tax deductible. Lifetime mega video subscription. It was shut down shortly afterwards for copyright infringement. Reddit coins. I purchased a plastic skeleton for this year's Halloween. Last week. Cocaine. Expensive, addictive, and dangerous, all to feel a little euphoric and annoyingly chatty for 30 minutes at a time. I regret every purchase over $20. Oh, graphics cards. Really expensive graphics cards that would surely pay off the moment someone designed a game made for them. One time I was so cooked on dabs I bought 5 pounds of gummy sharks online. Sober me was not stoked. Later high me was. A keyboard. For some context. Customer service and return policies suck horribly here in Mexico. How bad? I bought this keyboard at a store where the guarantee lasted 2 days. I had 2 days to return it if something failed. And they would only take it back if they tried it in their PC and also wouldn't work. So, of course I get home and try it and it doesn't work. But it's Saturday afternoon and they don't open Sunday. Monday I take it to the store. They try it in their PC and of course it works. So, that's it. It's mine forever now whether it works or not in my machine. Well, it worked when I got home. For some arcane reason it worked well. Actually I think it's probably so shittily made that the shaking from taking it home made it work. I mean you could barely fit the batteries in. It sort of worked. At any rate, it was a shitty keyboard which constantly double-typed and stuttered in video games. I could have bought a better one but the dumb got hold of men that day. And of course after purchase I could not return it and buy a better one. So, I was dumb for buying a shitty keyboard. And also dumb for buying it after they told me the terms of their return policy.